Well, let's say you've decided your financial goals have shifted a little bit and you're looking to make some changes.
Well, where do you start and how do you make those changes? Today's Your Dime sponsor, Wall Street Financial Group's Chief Retirement Strategist and founder, Zach Gray, is here. So we're talking about the process, getting started.
Right. Well, I think the first step is sometimes the toughest, right? And sometimes we get a little daunted with all these X's and O's of how our investments are built and returns, and there's a lot of financial jargon out there, right, that maybe intimidates people. So I at least wanted to share a little bit about kind of the general steps to working with myself and my team, and hopefully it's maybe something that folks can experience in other places as well, because I do think taking that first step, it's really, really important. And obviously, if we can get that momentum going, sometimes that's all that we need, right? Just to get that first step.
Yes.
Personally, I don't like feeling stupid. I would imagine most people are that way. But Zach assures me that when you walk in the office, it's fairly simple to start through this process and figure out what we have and where we're headed.
Exactly. So the first visit that we have, and we call it a visit for just that reason, it just needs to be a dialogue back and forth, right? It doesn't need to be, you need to bring in stacks and stacks of information. It's just a really great way to start to see if we can help in any way, shape, or form, understand the dreams and the goals that you might have when it comes to retirement. And that's really a key piece to that. So when we step someone through our discovery visit, we call it, it's just getting to know each other, seeing if we can answer some of those questions, understanding the dreams and the goals that you have, and really maybe what stands in the way, of you being happy, obviously making ends meet, and living out the retirement that you care to live out. There's a lot of Q&A as a part of that, and then we start to kind of understand maybe what would be the next step. Maybe we are taking someone through our financial roadmap process, but there's a lot of things that we can talk about in that first discovery visit.
So clearly we're making sandcastles, right?
So, yeah, what were the buckets?
So when we sit down with someone, we like to kind of put that up on one of the televisions in our office. And so you're going to see that there's really kind of two sets of buckets there, one of which be orange in color. And we're trying to figure out your money being either taxable, tax-deferred, or more tax-free. What type of money do you have? So taxable money would be things like dollars in the bank. Tax-deferred money is we're waiting on taxation. Could be a 401k or an IRA. Tax-free money is something more like a Roth IRA, maybe Roth 401k. The second set of buckets is how much risk do you want to take with that money? So, for you folks, maybe you're in a position that you say, hey, I'm a few years away from retirement. I can maybe skew over to that more opportunistic growth. I want to make sure that I grow my money very well. However, for folks that are at that point of retirement, maybe we need to make sure that we've got some money in some of those other buckets that are a little bit more conservative. And I think it's always an eye-opener for folks to understand how much risk they're really taking.
So we had the process and the discovery. These are two separate things, although the buckets look very similar. So what does that next meeting look like, or the next set of meetings?
Yes. So from that point on, we can go a lot of different directions, right? The obvious is that we just want to try to bring value to anyone that reaches out. So whether they jump to our website after, seeing us here on CI Living, whether they, pick up the phone and give us a call, maybe they see me in an event that we do in town. I think it's really important for folks to understand it's just kind of this no pressure situation. After that point, though, it's a planning visit. So there we are recapping, the dreams and the goals that you have. And we are starting to review some of our findings. How much risk are you taking? As we look at that statement, how risky are you? Does that fit the mold? Are you performing very well? And in our opinion, what are some recommendations that we can maybe provide? So obviously, we're gathering that information at a discovery visit. We're seeing if it makes sense to kind of put a plan together. We call it our financial roadmap. Put that together and then start to lay out some recommendations. And it really just kind of comes down to that point of saying, does it make sense for us to work together at that point? Obviously, we hope that maybe that's the case, but it is important for folks to understand that, as they visit with someone, it should be a no-pressure scenario. It should be about them. It should be about their dreams and goals. And let's start to gather those questions and maybe put them in a plan that might make some sense.
What are some of the questions that people come to you with?
Boy, that's a wide variety. So I think that a lot of which will be saying, where do I get the money? You know, which bucket do I pull from, right? So we kind of think in terms of these buckets because we don't want it to be confusing. We don't want it to be overwhelming. And at that point in time, there needs to be some strategy there. Are they going to have enough money? You know, the number one question that we get is, will I run out of money? And that's a really important question as you're starting to think about retirement. So that's where that financial planning comes back into play. And it all is driven by if someone wants to have, let's say, $20,000 a year, or maybe someone wants to add a zero to that, it needs to be a couple $100,000 a year. Then at that point in time, we have to start to understand, do they have a pension? Do they have, you know, maybe property cash flows from rentals or farm ground? Or is it all relying on the investments? We have to build that plan accordingly.
If you want to better plan your financial future or just up your sock game, this guy is the guy to go to. Zach Gray, he's always full of great information and has amazing socks. There's a look at the Wall Street Financial Group's website, and we'll connect you on ours, CILiving.tv.